We won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices, and it will take some time.
Mark Carney f***ing hates Gen Z Canadians and is willing to sacrifice them on the altar of capitalism to help pay off his buddies in the White House to keep maintaining the status quo. It's f***ing insane.
The fact is, in particular, we will have both studied and entered the workforce. You will soon enter the workforce during times of immense change. So, because of these advantages, over decades our economy grew steadily more integrated with the United States through the Free Trade Agreement of the 1980s, the NAFTA Accord of the 1990s, and eventually USMCA agreement signed in 2018. Canada's trade increased by over 400% during that period, and our economy doubled in size.
This guy's talking about trade agreements to a group of young people who are like, I will never own a home and never be able to have a kid.
Sacrifices. This decades-long process of an ever closer economic relationship with the United States is now over. And the scale and the speed of these developments are not part of a smooth transition, they're a rupture. And they mean that our economic strategy needs to change dramatically. And they mean as well, even though we both lived through time, or I lived through times of immense change, your future will not be the same as my past.
Donald Trump's got the country by and Mark Carney doesn't know how to stand up to him because he wants to be on Team Trump. So that way he can maintain his insane amount of wealth. Previous generations, leadership from previous generations have been like, we're going to exploit as much as we can, get as much money up to the top 1% as we can, and then we'll close the door behind you while the world f***ing burns due to climate change.
Sacrifices. The world is more dangerous and divided. The U.S., as we all know, has fundamentally changed its approach to trade. It's raising its tariffs to levels last seen during the Great Depression. And the scale and the speed of these developments are not part of a smooth transition, they're a rupture.
Our trade relationship with the U.S. has completely changed, he said. That's why he's spent the 6 months, his entire tenure, just scrambling to try and keep and maintain that exact same system that has led us here. It's a stupid plan. And Donald Trump knows that because Mark Carney has no balls. He has no convictions. All he wants is the money to flow. And Donald Trump can go, you want to negotiate? Give me DST. Give me 5% budget on NATO. You're going to buy American weapons with that. Don't worry.
Strengths based on close ties to America have become our vulnerabilities. And as a result of that, the jobs of workers in our industries most affected by the U.S. tariffs in autos and steel and lumber are under threat.
He's going to focus a lot on auto and steel here because that's all he really gives a shit about is he sees leaders of industry going, hey, the tariff stuff is crazy. Please help us out. That's the investment part of his austerity and investment budget. He's going to take money from the working people, the masses, and give it to these giant corporations that screw over their workers every chance that they get. Not to mention just the general material conditions worsening over time. Maybe not for Mark Carney. No, I know not for Mark Carney because he's rich as fuck and he's dictating Canadian economic policy and industrial policy based on his wealth and how he wants to maintain and grow it. It's bullshit, bruh. He's fighting to keep this existing status quo alive as long as possible, and he doesn't address the actual underlying unaffordability crisis facing everyday Canadians.
When I was in graduate school, the World Wide Web, as we then called it, was that was the modern term of the information superhighway, if you ever heard of that. The World Wide Web, as we then called it, was just beginning. We used pen and paper in class. We talked on the telephone to each other. And we talked about the same news stories, the same movies, the same bands.
Hey, audience of stupid young people, you don't know what the World Wide Web is, right? You probably haven't heard of it. You're just a stupid young idiot group of people. Also, you guys are too stupid to know pen and paper. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? Oh, and nope, Gen Z and Gen Alpha aren't talking on the telephone. He's sitting there patronizing while talking about how he's gonna sacrifice the poor and the young to make a buck.
Our public square is fragmented by online echo chambers, where truth and fiction can be hard to tell apart, and where contrasting ideas tend to polarize, not persuade.
Bro, he's fucking blaming online echo chambers. Meanwhile, people are going to online echo chambers because there's a mass loneliness epidemic facing everyone. There's no third spaces to go and meet people without paying an exorbitant amount of money out anywhere. So people stay home and they can't afford to go. Meanwhile, his fucking echo chamber is a bunch of rich dudes in suits jerking themselves off, talking about, oh, we're gonna invest so fucking hard in these industries, and then the money will trickle down for sure. Fucking idiot.
We have to take care of ourselves because we can't rely on one foreign partner. We have to take care of each other because we are stronger together. And we've learned that now is not the time to be cautious because fortune favors the bold.
We have to take care of each other, and the best way to take care of each other is to sacrifice the poor. Have we thought about running the numbers on killing all the poor?
We've run every viable model through the computer, and it looks like there just are no easy solutions to this recession.
Yeah, raising VAT, cutting VAT, raising interest rates.
Raising interest rates and VAT, lowering income tax and raising VAT.
None of it seems to really help.
Have you tried all the poor?
It's our country. It's your future. And we are going to give it back to you.
It's our future and we are going to give it back to you, buddy. You're spending this whole time talking about transforming Canada's economy into austerity, which is theft from the working class, and giving it to insanely wealthy corporations that screw their workers. Up to this point, he's said nothing of substance and has just patronized and derided a group of younger people in the audience. It's fucking crazy.
Now, to confront a more dynamic, a more competitive, a more hostile world, we must chart a new course, drawing on our many strengths as a country, relying on our values and being inspired by our history.
Relying on our values and being inspired by our history, we're a fucking colonial state that still treats the indigenous population like second-class citizens. There's boil advisories all the time. Infrastructure doesn't get built for them. They don't have autonomy. They don't have jurisdiction. And we're relying on our values. What are our values? Mark Carney's values are being pro-Israeli genocide, refusing to call it a genocide, refusing to actually name and pursue legal charges against the state of Israel.
We're an energy superpower. We start with the third largest reserves of oil, the fourth largest of natural gas. We have an electricity grid that is 85% clean, and we have the vast potential to power the clean economy of the future.
And then here's the giveaway. More oil, more natural gas. This guy spent the last decade championing green, net emissions banking initiatives globally. And here he is talking about how he wants to accelerate climate change because the world wants it. This is another way that he's sacrificing the poor. He's staring them in the eye, saying, I will burn the world to the ground because the capitalists and the oil billionaires really want it.
Canada is a leader in artificial intelligence, life sciences, and quantum computing.
Bro, he's like, AI's great, guys. Look, it's gonna get all of your jobs taken away, and I'm not gonna regulate it at all because the capitalists want to use it to punish the workforce.
Our universities are among the best in the world. Their scientists are among the most cited, and they attract and train the best talent.
He brags about the universities. Meanwhile, tuition when he was going to school was nowhere near what it's like now in terms of annual income. People are tens of thousands of dollars in debt for trying to get an education. Give me a break.
Our second advantage is that Canada has the values to which the world aspires. Canada has always been, and we always will be, committed to fundamental human rights, to human dignity, and to individual freedom.
Bro's talking about Canada's values and being committed to fundamental human rights. Meanwhile, he has tacitly and materially supported Israel's genocide, apartheid, and man-made famine of Palestinians. He has no credibility on human rights. He's just a racist neolib.
And Canadians value collaboration and partnership. And we are determined to build a sustainable future. These deeply held values are also economic assets. They give investors the confidence to build here. They offer innovators a stable foundation to take risks here. They give the world reasons to trust Canadians as reliable partners.
Bro, he's talking about Canadian values and the biggest benefit he sees from them. Like our beautiful multicultural society is like, oh, investors love that shit. They love our values because we're going to cut taxes for them. They're going to innovate so hard, guys.
The history of Canada is filled with adventurers, risk-takers, and builders. Over the centuries, in order to succeed and prosper, we have had to go further, build faster, and dream bigger. It is important to remember that the Canada before Confederation was built through bold action and risk-taking.
This guy just said the Canada before Confederation was built through bold action and risk-taking. We're talking about the mass slaughter and genocide of the Indigenous peoples and First Nations that were here first. Bold, he says.
Long before Confederation, our country was forged by Indigenous peoples. Coureurs de bois and voyageurs who mapped this continent and built vast trading networks from coast to coast to coast before the Americans had even left St. Louis.
He's mythologizing white supremacy in front of our eyes. Look, they were mapping everything, building trade networks and everything, and they did it so much better than the US. He's just fucking completely ignoring the indigenous peoples of this settler colony. Going back hundreds of years, I thought we all agreed on this, that it was bad. Settler colonialism was bad and was predicated on genocide of the indigenous population.
When the Second World War ended, Canada was ambitious, determined, and united in a mission to build big things. The St. Lawrence Seaway, the Trans-Canada Highway, Expo 67, the CN Tower.
In the 1950s, Canada's highest marginal tax bracket for federal income tax was 80%. It's like 32% now. So he's bragging about the policies of actually taxing the wealthy and building things in this country, and he's doing the exact opposite, but claiming that that's what we're gonna do.
We used to build things in this country. We can build again. We used to explore this country. We can chart new courses again. We used to take big, bold risks in this country. It is time to swing for the fences again.
Let's swing for the fences, people. And what swinging for the fences translates to is we're going to take the baseball bat and use it to sacrifice the poor and the young as like a piñata to get all the money out of the working class and give it to the wealthy.
And this is what the upcoming budget will be about. Building, taking control, and winning.
The budget, it's about building, taking control, and winning. Okay, people, we're gonna win so hard by sacrificing all of you. It's gonna be great.
We will make generational investments with a plan to protect our communities, our borders, our way of life.
Generational investments means stealing from the younger generations and investing it in insanely wealthy people whose material conditions are better. It's theft from the poor and working class, giving it to the wealthiest Canadians and corporations. Gen Z's material conditions are worse than their parents. They're getting worse over time. Still, youth unemployment is through the fucking roof. And here he is like, yay, we're doing so great, guys. There's gonna be no terrorists. It's gonna be great. I know none of the benefits of the country being in a good geography and being a colonial entity built on exploitation. It's fucking awesome, but not for you. Not for anyone who actually needs the help and material conditions to improve. You want a house? You. How about that? That's what Mark Carney says. You're gonna sacrifice.
Sacrifices. Safe communities attract people and families to put down roots, get a home, build a rewarding career, and ensure their children get a good education. So as soon as Parliament opened in the spring, we introduced the strongest legislation in Canadian history to secure our borders and crack down on gun trafficking and illegal drugs such as fentanyl. We introduced new legislation to combat the horrifying rise in hate and violent intimidation.
Canada's violent crime rate is at some of the lowest levels it's ever been. People live in safe communities. There is a perception of a lot of violence and crime going on, but that's mostly due to a lack of improving of the material conditions. Canada shouldn't have homeless and hungry people across the country while we have billionaires, empty houses, and plenty of food. This is just neoliberalism packaged behind an elite world banker talking about tough on crime, austerity, investment, trickle-down economics. This shit doesn't work, and he knows it, but he doesn't care because he wants to make money off of you.
As we build safer streets and stronger borders, we also must reinforce our sovereignty in that more dangerous and divided world. And that's why Canada's new government is undertaking the largest increase in defense spending in a generation, or in generations to be more precise.
Canada is undertaking the largest increase in defense spending in generations, he says. And that's true. Canada has pledged to going to 5% of GDP spent on defense. 5% is higher than any time since at least World War II. I don't feel like we're in World War II right now. And the worst part, somehow even worse, is that money is going to American military industrial complex to help fund NATO's offensive war machine. Some of the money might go to Europe, but a lot of it's going to go to the good old USA. And that's why Donald Trump asked for it, and Carney gave it without a single thought.
And we're forging new partnerships with allies, such as the European Union, to strengthen our shared security.
Strengthening our alliances with the European Union. These are other NATO countries. NATO is a fascist-led, i.e. American-led, offensive military alliance. It's not defensive. It was built specifically to counter the USSR at the start of the Cold War. And you want to know why it's offensive? Canada has troops in fucking Latvia. If we were trying to defend Canada, the troops would be here. Mark Carney has also openly stated he wants to build up military capabilities in the Middle East. So that way, he can help Israel and America to fight Iran and any other people who stand in America's fascist way. He's openly saying he wants to be a fascist military puppet and passing it off as sovereignty.
In the last 6 months, we've worked to create the right conditions to get big things built faster. At the end of June, we passed the One Canadian Economy Act to remove federal barriers to internal trade and to fast-track the approval of nation-building projects.
Fast-tracking the approval of major projects, nation-building projects as he calls them, is economic elite banker speak for we're trampling the rights of Indigenous peoples across their land. They're the stewards of the land. They need, at minimum, free, prior, and informed consent. And he's downgrading that to consultation, which means all because he's openly saying we're going to steamroll over them so we can get shit built.
In August, we opened the Major Projects Office, which serves as a single point of contact to get those nation-building projects built faster.
And the Major Nation Building Projects Office is headed by an oil super mega millionaire who's being paid $500,000 a year of Canadian taxpayer dollars so she can recommend how great pipelines are.
Projects that will connect us diversify our economy, and propel us forward. Projects that will export our resources to new partners around the world. Projects that will create hundreds of thousands of well-paid jobs. Good unionized jobs for Canadian workers.
See how when he talks about building and the future, all he talks about is exports, diversifying our trade partners / economy, and nothing about how to actually improve Canadians' lives in front of them. He thinks he's pretending that unless we build this metal tube full of fossil fuels and ship it across the Pacific Ocean, we won't have a country anymore, guys. This is asinine. It's going to create so many jobs, guys, trust me. That's why we need to steal from you, to give money to these corporations, and then maybe you'll get a job. This does nothing for the people in the room and young Canadians across the board. Also, I don't trust a word he says on unions because he's openly violated the charter using Section 107 to try and justify ending the Air Canada strike immediately after it started, which is taking away Canadians' rights to peaceful assembly, protest, and our fundamental freedom to strike. So when he talks about unions, he doesn't give a shit about unions. He sees them as a hurdle and is just paying a little homage to saying, oh, well, there'll be good union jobs.
Now, last month, we announced the first tranche, the first group of these major projects, with over $60 billion of investments in nuclear power, in LNG, in carbon capture, in critical minerals, and in new trade corridors. And we outlined strategies from offshore wind to high-speed rail and a sovereign cloud to drive hundreds of billions in further investment.
Carbon capture is a pretty much fictitious creation by the oil sands lobby. They go under the name of the Pathways Alliance, which is just a front for oil lobby billionaires to want to pump more oil and invest in this unscalable, fictitious technology of carbon capture so they can quote-unquote decarbonize their oil barrels. A decarbonized oil barrel doesn't exist. It's like saying, I've de-pooped this bowl of shit after I sprinkled some fairy dust on it. Trust me, guys, there's no poop in there.
All while creating the conditions for a better connected, more productive, and more ambitious country.
When he talks about productivity, just know what he's saying there is banker speak for he thinks Canadians are lazy and aren't a good investment because of that. All this is taking the GDP and dividing it by the workforce. The GDP has no bearing on the actual material conditions of the people in the country. When the GDP goes up, but so does your rent and your grocery bill and your schooling costs and your commuting costs, your utilities costs are all going up.
At the core of our strategy will be to catalyze unprecedented investments in Canada over the next 5 years. That's what's going to come above and beyond these projects.
He gives away the game here. He says at the core of our strategy is to catalyze these investments from foreign companies, whatever, rich people, and that's the core value of it. Not making Canadians' lives better, but making corporations' lives better at the expense of people, working class people.
We launched Build Canada Homes here in Ottawa to help double the pace of housing construction within a decade, using new factory technology, cutting building times by 50%, reducing costs by 20%, and lowering emissions by 20%.
Even the numbers of houses he's quoting here of building and doubling the rate of building isn't enough, isn't adequate to address the problem. And he's not going to adequately address the problem because he doesn't want to actually build and grow public ownership of the houses in this country. He wants private corporations to build apartments so that giant investment companies can buy them all up and sell them to Canadians to make a profit off them just trying to live and needing somewhere to live.
We will build inclusively in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis every step of the way.
They're going to build inclusively. that means fuck all whenever they're writing laws saying indigenous people do not have the right to stewardship and jurisdiction over their land. He just wants to put an indigenous face and saying, look at how inclusive we are, guys. All right, now off.
We will build in solidarity with workers, creating good union jobs.
Solidarity with workers, my ass. The Air Canada Union would like a word, and the Canada Post Union would like a word.
And Budget 2025 will introduce our climate competitiveness strategy. With a focus on results over objectives, on investments over prohibition, we will build sustainably.
Results over objectives and investment over prohibition on his climate competitiveness plan. Notice how we're not even talking about the climate crisis here. He's talking about how to attract more investors to build fossil fuel infrastructure of the past in Canada. When I hear focusing on results instead of objectives, I hear a completely rudderless government with no moral compass, no moral conviction, and no desire to actually try and make Canadians' lives better, and that comes through crystal clear throughout this speech.
Our strategy will recognize that in today's global economy, we have to build sustainably. It's not just a moral duty, it's also an economic imperative. It is a moral duty, but it's an economic imperative.
According to Mark Carney, reducing emissions is a moral requirement and also to a lesser extent an economic requirement. But this motherfucker is openly saying he's going to allow fossil fuel infrastructure like pipelines and more oil sands production and natural gas. You know what all those things do? They're fossil fuels, ding dong. By your own standards, you have a complete moral failing. And it's because you've spent the last 10 years advocating for net zero emissions. And here you are talking about how you want to harness investment to enhance our energy. He is a moral failing. He is a walking contradiction, but he's not contradicting himself because his main moral compass is himself, his other rich, wealthy elite folk that he hangs around with in his echo chamber. Meanwhile, Canadians suffer. A moral duty that this guy is failing at by his own moral standards he's setting. He's an immoral, wealthy capitalist pig. That's why he fails his own moral test.
The new security threats the world is bringing to our shores means we're making the biggest investments in our military in generations. But up until now, more than 70 cents of every dollar of military spending, military capital expending by our government goes to the United States. With our new Defense Investment Agency, we will make sure we build more of our security and defense capabilities here at home, creating new careers in aerospace and shipbuilding and cyber and AI for Canadian engineers, technicians, and scientists.
This guy's talking about how 70 cents on the dollar of our military spending goes to the United States and how we got to get that number lower. But think about it. If we're quadrupling our military budget to 5% of GDP, which is an insane number not seen since at least World War II, the largest military conflict in human history, but he wants to get that percentage down. Say it goes down to 60% or 50%. Guess what? You're still paying way more money to the US because you've quadrupled the military budget. So all you're doing is feeding the military industrial complex to help feed NATO's offensive fascist-led military alliance.
Our partners around the world are already taking note of new Canadian ambition. Last month, we signed a historic free trade deal with Indonesia, the world's fourth largest country by population. We've just signed foundational agreements with the United Arab Emirates in AI and with the EU in defense and trade and with Germany in critical minerals.
He's bragging about signing agreements with the United Arab Emirates on AI. The United Arab Emirates are actively supporting the Rapid Support Forces in Sudan and committing side, and there's mass famine going on, and this guy's bragging about, oh, we're doing great with AI with these guys, they're so f***ing awesome.
We will continue to support the most vulnerable and offer respite to those who are struggling by building a country where life is affordable. That is the third goal of our plan, giving all Canadians the means to succeed.
How are you going to build an affordable life for the vulnerable and people who are struggling, which is most of the people you're talking to in the room right now? Not the first point of his plan, not the second point of his plan, but the third point of his plan is giving Canadians means to succeed. What the fuck does that mean?
The absolute first thing we did after the election was to cut taxes for all Canadians who pay tax, delivering tax savings for more than 22 million Canadians. We cut taxes to reduce the cost of housing for first-time homebuyers, some of whom I hope are in this room, immediately making the goal of home ownership a reality for more Canadians with young families.
He's gonna ignore how he cut taxes for the wealthy, including removing the capital gains tax increase, which was a marginal increase but would have seen people like him getting taxed at a higher rate, so he got rid of that. He also got rid of the consumer carbon pricing setup, which overwhelmingly net benefited the impoverished, poor, and working class people. But people like him, who bought a lot of fossil fuels over time because he's a fucking 10 plus millionaire, were paying more. He didn't want to pay more, so he got rid of it. Oh, he cut taxes to help housing for first-time homebuyers. How's that going, buddy? How's that going? Oh, it's shit? It's terrible? Nothing's working? Just cutting taxes randomly and not addressing the underlying systemic issues that is capitalism and corporate consolidation? Give me a break.
Housing and new ports and clean energy will create high-paying careers, many of them union careers here in Canada. It will be a great time to be in the trades.
He's just wish casting here. Oh, it's going to be a great time in the trades, guys. Trust me. It's going to go so well. I know you won't be able to afford to have a kid or afford to buy the groceries that you want or afford to have leisure and entertainment in your life and fulfillment and a meaningful life. But trust me, it's going to be so baller in the trades. Trust me, please.
Because when Canadians empower each other, everyone benefits, and Canada prospers.
When Canadians empower each other, everyone benefits. After talking about how he's lowering taxes on the wealthy, worsening economic inequality, which is a poison to society, he's talking out of his ass because he doesn't mean what he's saying when he wants to improve our lives. He doesn't want to improve our lives. If he did, he would actually tax the wealthy and make services and programs free and accessible and build things under public ownership. But he's not going to do that.
To seize the opportunities offered by this pivotal moment, we must make difficult decisions. We must change the way government operates, spending less so that Canadians invest more, build our country, and create better careers.
Oh, difficult decisions. Here we go. Maybe he'll be honest for a second. Getting rid of wasteful government spending and doing more with less. This is stupid, ridiculous thought. You're just gonna do more with less? What are you gonna do? Use AI to fire more public servants? This is fucking stupid. And they just focus on federal spending and how out of control it is because they don't want to look at the income side of things, which is taxation, because they refuse to tax the wealthy. It's that simple. They just want to cut. That's what austerity and investment is. It's taking from the working class who build this country and giving it to the rich in their bougie ass offices.
And when we saw that Canada Post was losing $10 million a day, Madam President, would you like to have $10 million a day? Imagine what you could do for the university with $10 million a day. Canada Post losing $10 million a day. We made responsible choices.
We made responsible choices on Canada Post, so it sounds like he's actually fully made up his mind and wants to completely gut and decimate Canada Post, which is a public good, a public utility that could be expanded on to help grow and serve Canadians, especially in rural and remote communities. Now, instead, what he's going to do is he's going to cut home delivery services from Canada Post, and he's going to remove locations across the country. And guess what's going to happen? That's going to be replaced by private companies who are going to charge way more, and Canadians will come out with less and higher inflation. It's a fucking joke. And he's going to fire hundreds, thousands of hardworking Canadians who go out into the snow, into the rain to hand deliver our packages to our front doors. These people are being screwed over, and he's already made up his mind that he's going to fuck them, and he's happy about it. It's a great idea, he says. This is a pitch as an efficiency. How on God's green earth is it fucking efficient to privatize a public good?
But the fact is, even with such efficiencies and with better management, we will have to do less of some of the things that we want to do so we can do more of what we must do to build a bigger and better Canada.
Less of what we want, more of what we must. And what do Canadians want? Canadians want affordability. Canadians want livability. Canadians want access to healthcare. Canadians want good paying jobs. Canadians want good infrastructure. And Canadians want adequate address to climate change. But Mark Carney says we don't need that shit. We need pipelines, idiots. We need to cut taxes on the wealthy, reduce services that help everyday Canadians across the country, and we're gonna give it to some fucking steel company and pitch it as an investment, and it might return jobs down the line, guys. That's what he's saying we need. That's what austerity and investment. He's saying we need this right now. I know all you folks want to live a good life and have better material conditions, but we don't need that right now. What we need is more pipelines and lower taxes on the wealthy. That'll fix it.
This budget will protect the critical programs that give every Canadian a real chance to get ahead. We will protect the Canadian Dental Care Program that now allows more than 5 million Canadians to access affordable dental care. And we will make the National School Food Program permanent, a program that allows 400,000 children to receive a healthy meal every single day.
Then he's gonna fucking just lie through his teeth about how he's gonna protect dental care and pharmacare. Protect them? Buddy, you're cutting services across the fucking country. People's prices are going to go up. And you're talking about just protecting two programs that the NDP, might I remind you, brought into effect, and they're popular. That's why people don't want them touched. But he's not saying we're going to expand them or anything. We're going to protect them. Protect them from who? Protect them from himself and all the hacking and slashing he's doing to our public services.
Let me give the current economic context. I'm channeling my old central banker days here.
Oh, your old central banker days? What the are you talking about? You went from central banker to asset management CEO to prime minister. You've never stopped being a capitalist pig freak.
Look, the situation in Canada now, the actual situation, is that the rate of inflation has come down. It's come down sharply. But it's also the case that the cost of living is still far too high. It's also the situation in Canada right now that we're building a lot more homes. Housing starts are up this year. And affordability of those houses are improving. But it's still challenging. We need to build many, many more homes, and we need to build them a lot faster.
Oh, inflation's down, guys. You guys are just fucking idiots who don't feel it. Trust me, bro. He's talking about how there's marginal gains in home building and marginal gains in home affordability. He's not putting numbers to them because the numbers show that it's fucking bullshit and Canadians can't afford to live in Canada. And that's all he'll say on affordability, guys. Trust me, we're just building homes and it's gonna be great. That'll do it. Inflation's down. Trust me, idiots.
This government is getting immigration under control, with asylum claims down by a third and new temporary foreign workers down by more than 70% this year. To match immigration levels with our needs and our capacity to welcome them, this budget will include Canada's new immigration plan to do better for newcomers and for everyone.
He's cracking down on immigration. Cracking down on immigration. Immigration is a right-wing scapegoat used to distract away from capitalist failures over time. Immigrants are blamed for the housing crisis. They're blamed for the unaffordability crisis. And that's why he's putting this right after talking about housing and affordability, because it's the immigrants' faults, you idiot. Buddy, this is a fucking settler colonial country next to a fascist neighbor with the largest military expenditure in the history of the planet. And this guy's like, yeah, I fucking hate immigrants too, guys, right? Asylum claims are down. That's good, right, everybody? That way real Canadians can get some homes. But we're a country of immigrants, and this guy's bragging that like, oh, not those immigrants. Those people are evil and bad because housing, right, guys? It was housing.
And it is a fact that we are forecast to be the second fastest growing economy in the G7 over the course of the next 2 years.
Oh, we're forecasted to be the second fastest growing country in the G7, guys. Look at this forecast. Trust me, inflation's down. Everything's gonna be good. Just trust me. But also, you need to sacrifice. You need to face some more challenges, you fucking losers. Meanwhile, Mark Carney's not gonna face those challenges. He's not gonna face those sacrifices because he's fucking loaded to shit.
So the facts are that at present, despite everything, despite these big changes, our economy is holding up. But it's equally true that if we don't act now, these pressures will only grow.
Despite all these big changes, our economy is holding up. This is the exact same shit that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did in the 2024 election, saying, hey guys, it's all great. Everything's gonna be good. The vibes are so good, people. Trust me, it's gonna go great. And you know what that did? That opened the door to right-wing authoritarian fascist Donald Trump. Fascist Donald Trump. And he's doing the exact same thing because they have to lie to the Canadian public. They have to lie because austerity and investment is known to wreak havoc across every country it's ever been tried in. This shit fucking sucks. Trickle-down economics fucking sucks and doesn't work. The economy's great, guys.
And more fundamentally, our goal is not just to do reasonably well, but to grow stronger than the rest of the G7. And as we work to do so, I want to make this promise to Canadians. I will always be straight about the challenges that we face and the choices that we must make. And to be clear, we won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices, and it will take some time. Sacrifices.
We want to grow stronger. We want our macros to be so fucking good. That's why you guys need to face some more challenges and some sacrifices. They must be made in order to get the GDP number up, guys. We won't transform our economy easily. Okay, so it's not going to be easy to get there. And when we get there, it's going to be shit. More austerity for us and investments for giga corporations, which is just theft from the working class. But like, trust me, maybe 2 years down the line, it might be better, guys. The economy's going to be great.
Our government will work relentlessly to cut waste and drive efficiencies. And when we have to make difficult choices, we will be thoughtful, we'll be transparent, and we'll be fair. Sacrifices.
Look, we're going to be super fair in the sacrifices we're dollying out to all you poor fucks. It's going to be so fair, trust me. We're going to think about it really hard. We're going to come to the conclusion always that you guys need to rot and your problems aren't real and you're just buying too much Starbucks. Yeah, we're just super honest about things. We gotta make tough decisions. You know what tough decisions he's making? He's making tough decisions on how to steal from working class people and give it to his elite banker buddies and his investment bros and the extractive industries. He doesn't want to make actual decisions that would help Canadians because he's actually a coward. A real leader would raise taxes on the wealthy. But this guy is too busy worrying about his $10+ million, his several homes, and how he's going to maintain that wealth in the coming years. And they're trying to find the sweet spot of austerity investment. Give the plebeians as little as they need to avoid complete revolution while we extract, steal, and punish, challenge, sacrifice the working class, poor, the homeless, and the youth.
We will work collaboratively with our colleagues across the aisle to build, protect, and empower Canadians. We won't play games. We won't waste time. And we won't hold back. We will do what it takes.
Working collaboratively with those across the aisle has meant so far for Mark Carney's administration just working with conservatives to pass conservative legislation. This fucker talking about sacrifices while flying around the world, talking to world leaders, the richest people, whining and dining across the planet, living in his wealthy ass world. Meanwhile, Canadians are struggling, and you know what he's saying? You must sacrifice. The economy demands it. This man's a fucking freak, a capitalist freak who will literally kill people in order to save $1 in the budget because he doesn't want to raise taxes on himself. This is a monster.
This is my promise to Canadians. I will always be clear with Canadians about the challenges we must face and the choices we have to make. The transformation of our economy will not happen easily or in a few months. It will require sacrifices, and it will take some time. Our government will work tirelessly to eliminate waste and enhance efficiency. And when we must make difficult choices, we will do so with thoughtfulness and all transparency.
We're going to be really thoughtful about all the sacrifices you plebeians need to make, you fucking idiots. We're going to think so hard about it. The result will be challenging for you. But we thought about it. Trust me, it was a really hard decision.
Sacrifices.
Because we will play to win, and we will bet on Canada and on all Canadians. It is our country. It's your future. We will give you that control.
What control, Mark? You're a world elite banker. You're the face of the world global elite capitalist class. You're materially supporting Israel's genocide. You're bragging about how you're collaborating with the United Arab Emirates on AI while they're supporting their mercenary force in Sudan. You are a soulless husk, just using right-wing framing, blaming immigrants on housing, blaming immigrants on jobs, blaming immigrants on affordability, and saying, protect some Canadians, sure, but sacrifice time, people. He hates working class Canadians. He does not want what's best for them. He's working for his own class interests, the capital owning class, because he's a loaded capitalist, and his interests are drill baby drill, lower taxes on himself, and screw over the working poor to extract as much wealth from their labor as possible and give it to his rich buddies so they can have their little Epstein Islands and try and avoid the effects of climate change that are going to devastate all of Canada and the whole world.
And to finish, because we're all in this together, I ask you to get involved. The fact you're here this evening, we do many other things, shows that you're interested in being involved. Get involved. Look out for each other. Look after each other. I know from the history that I read in university and the history that I've lived since graduating that fortune truly does favor the bold. And the hinge of fate will turn on what Canada does right now. We're going to have to change how we do some things. But we will never change who we are. This moment has revealed, yes, the limits to our economic independence. Limits that we must tackle head on, and we will. But more importantly, what it's revealed is a nation that's more determined, generous, hardworking, compassionate, and ambitious than any other on earth. We are Canada strong. Canada fort. Vive le Canada.
Yeah, my ass, we're all in this together, buddy. He's on a yacht being driven around, floating around. He spent his entire adult career just being a wealthy elite banker and a CEO for an asset management company that has been the source of, at least part of the source of all this economic distress. And he's gonna say, no, we're all in this together, guys. We gotta improve productivity and the GDP. And the way to do that is to kill the poor. But we're all in this together, though, right, guys? Oh, look out for each other, guys. You gotta, because the government's not gonna be there to help you. But also, you have to be bold, because fortune favors the bold. Me, the wealthy, elite, banker, white guy who has championed neoliberal lies for his entire life. This guy is a monster, and he's gonna LARP and pretend like, oh, it's because I was super bold and I took risks. Meanwhile, there's vulnerable Canadians living out on the street through no fault of their own, or they're suffering from a mental health crisis or an addiction. People don't come into this world on the same playing field. Indigenous in Canada right now, across the land, are at a massive societal disadvantage due to systemic underfunding and racist colonial policies. But this guy can just go up there and be like, yeah, it's super easy. You gotta be bold. Be bold about it, guys. You can be one of the rich people too, so you can join my class. I'm not gonna help you. I'm gonna actually make you sacrifice. But trust me, maybe one day you could be up here, being the world banker elite. This guy gave a 32-minute speech on his plan to transform Canada's economy. This mother didn't mention the climate crisis and how it's and displacing Canadians every year and only getting worse. He didn't mention the housing crisis and how we have a homelessness crisis. Meanwhile, we have empty homes across the country. He didn't address food access crisis, where grocery prices are going up and more people are relying on food banks just to stay alive. He didn't talk about wealth inequality because that would point the finger to himself. He's got to hide that and pretend like it's the shady immigrants coming to this country built for immigrants because it's a settler colony. This is ridiculous. He doesn't actually address the problems. He'll blame and scapegoat inefficient government and overspending in the government and immigrants and, oh, Indigenous people are just a hurdle in the way of nation building projects. This mother is a right-wing supporting freak who will do everything in his power, including sucking the boots of Donald Trump, the fascist in charge of the United States, to maintain capitalism and not raise his own taxes. That's his agenda. It's plain and simple. Don't even get me started on the conservatives, because they'd be doing the exact same shit, and that's why they're teaming up right now. So yes, Mark Carney hates you. Mark Carney literally has designed a budget specifically to you and give you more challenges and more sacrifices in your already struggling day-to-day life. He said nothing about grocery prices. He actually said, oh, inflation's down, guys. Look, it's really good. Failing to address the climate crisis, failing to address the wealth inequality crisis, failing to address fascist American crisis is a complete disgrace and an utter failure of this government. They want nothing good for working class people, and they will burn the planet to the ground for their wealthy billionaire and millionaire class. They're just advocating for their own wealth and status. It's class warfare through and through, written in a budget, and he's openly saying it. The poor will face challenges and sacrifices. Mark Carney, the USA, Donald Trump, Israel. Anyways, peace and love to everyone. Free Palestine, free Sudan. I hope you enjoyed listening. Peace and love. Bye-bye, everyone. Till next time.